Well, here we are. Another episode of Locavana Unprocessed. It's either the third episode or the first.
I think it's the fourth, right?
It's the
Or
fourth.
Fourth, true. Or the first.
Second with the new name, fourth total.
Did we have the new name last time? I think
No,
did.
we didn't when we recorded, but
Yeah.
we launched with it, yeah.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a in between. Well, now we are Unprocessed,
Yep.
which is a better name because the other one wasn't actually live, for one.
Yeah. I'll have to hand it to Seth for that one. That was a
Yeah.
I get credit for both the bad name and the good name, so
Yeah,
it
makes
balances
sense.
out.
Yeah, well, that's good. But yeah, excited today. Although, of course, you were on when we had our last conversation with New Growth Project, but obviously didn't talk about you a lot.
Yep.
But for the devoted fans of Locavana Live, they will have noticed that suddenly there's this new personality in Locavana, and I'm surprised. I haven't checked the mail, but I'm sure there's a lot of inquiries
Yeah.
of all the people that listen to Locavana Live on a regular
Unprocessed.
basis. Well, used to be live, and now they're like, "Who's that? Who's this new guy?"
Yeah, it's been jarring.
So
I'm
now
sure.
we have to introduce you. So, due to popular request, we're gonna have a show here to discuss Ben Johnston, the director of marketing for Locavana and Locavana Unprocessed, as it were. And I guess the first of all, the big impetus belongs to Seth for recognizing the serious deficiencies in our marketing and branding effort previously, and making it very clear that we should look for a person that dedicated with this with a specific set of skills
Yep.
for marketing. But I don't really think, I think we kind of threw it out like, oh, let's see what's out there, have some conversations, and we scheduled a call, and it was even an afterthought, like, too, you're like, I'm going to jump on with this one guy. Looks pretty interesting. You should join. I was like, all right, well, I didn't have anything going on. So our 30-minute initial interview turned into a 2-hour conversation on the food supply chain, and we were like, yeah, we got to do that.
And I think our initial posting was like, "Hey, we want a part-time marketing person.
Yeah.
You can keep your current job. Who knows what we'll pay you? We'll give you like maybe some incentives." But it was like a very loose part-time thing.
It was the shortest job description I'd ever seen on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It was like 3 lines, and it was like, email Seth Jordy.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
Answer 2 questions.
But we quickly changed what we needed,
yeah.
and part of that was in the interview where you explained what we needed and convinced us that our original thought was not the right one.
Well, that's the difference between hiring somebody for marketing and hiring somebody on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that became pretty clear. So anyway, it was serendipitous, at least from my standpoint. And that's how life goes. And we had that conversation the other day. I don't think there's many accidents. So be it whatever the universal forces that have led us to where we are, I can say easily that I think we are in an excellent spot from the standpoint of understanding what our consumer experience is going to have to be.
Yep.
We've made some significant improvements in a couple weeks, with many years ahead of us to continue to do that. So anyway, thanks for not only being on Locavana Unprocessed, but also being part of Locavana
It's my pleasure.
as we process.
Yeah.
So now you bring up a good question. So what did make you reach out? If it was like a 3-line,
Oh,
you're like, man, these guys need help.
no,
He used those 3 lines well.
Yeah, it was more like 3 pages. But I was looking casually. You always got to keep your options open professionally. Not now, but I started my career in more consumer-facing marketing with a CPG, which I really enjoyed. That sort of marketing, talking directly to the customer. I did that for about 1.5 years, and then I ended up leaving and moving to an agency. Completely different. I mean, if you look at marketing in-house versus agency, it's a completely different ballgame. I mean, you're working with 8 to 10 different clients, completely different messaging, different brands versus one. When you're dedicating everything to that one brand, you're optimizing more internally. It's more of the full picture as opposed to just marketing for the sake of marketing, if you will. So it was less personalized, and the nature of it was different. So I went from marketing manager type role to account manager. So the focus and the scope of the role went from marketing focused and growth focused to management focus. Managing people, managing
keep
accounts.
The client.
Yeah, keep the client happy. Yeah,
money.
there's deliverables every month. Right. It's very set. It's very structured, and I could do it. I could do it well, but I didn't thrive personally. I didn't enjoy it as much as I once did. I kind of got into marketing sort of the same way that I got into Locavana. It was an opportunity that there was an opening, and I sort of just took whatever was there for me. So I didn't study marketing in college. I studied social sciences degree, very random degree.
But I think there's definitely a correlation.
Yeah, there is. I had a lot of focus on like psychology and human behavior and those sort of things, more with a social science type lens than marketing. But there's definitely a lot of overlap. It's all, at the end of the day, you strip it all back. It's all just how people make decisions, why they make those decisions.
Yep.
You also didn't get jaded by the marketing classes. 'Cause I took marketing classes, and none of it is relevant for today.
No.
Like a lot of it, it's always 10 years outdated.
It's like make your logo red.
They're like, hey, yeah, you should have a Facebook account. It is very outdated. So I would say it probably benefited you to not have any prior biases in the marketing space.
I agree. It was more of a fresh perspective. I didn't have to look at it with any sort of lens. It was just problem at hand and how am I gonna help the customer find the product. Like I said, so I started off at a CBD company, and I was working in the back of house. I just really wanted to get my foot in the door. It was a certified organic, which is, again, sort of has ties to what we're doing now. So I really wanted to just get involved, get my foot in the door. So I started out filling bottles of CBD tinctures and, doing all the production type things. And I found an opportunity that there was no marketing person really there at the time, but it was a very marketing focused company. That role had been vacated a couple months before I joined. So, I saw an opening, and I took it upon myself to sort of start doing the role without getting paid for the role on my own time. And then, like we talked about serendipity, it's not random. You put yourself in that position, and that's what I did. And I ended up getting that full-time role doing the marketing there. That's where I get all my experience really. And then transitioning to that next one.
That's cool. What I've liked and and we've talked about this. I mean, I've not really been in consumer facing business before.
Yeah.
So this is new for me. And the thing that I've come to appreciate about the marketing, and especially the approach that you take to it, is like marketing is really, especially if it's done properly and if it's done genuinely, you're really just you're conveying the personality of the business.
Yep.
Like it's the same thing as like going to a party and meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of marketing, I mean, that's super important for client facing stuff. And that's been the big learning curve for me, is learning how to connect with people in mass, because in business to business sales, it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
So your feedback loop is pretty immediate. And when you're marketing yourself to 1 million people, you're only going to get the good feedback, which is when they buy, but you don't find out why they don't, why they weren't interested, what they did like, what they didn't.
Yeah, with B2B, there's a pretty big marriage between marketing and sales. Like the cycle is very much split. So you have to cast that wider net with the marketing, but then you don't get sales purely for marketing in B2B most of the time, because it's usually more enterprise level. It's longer contracts, so the marketing is important so they know your brand, they know all that kind of stuff. But once they get that lead in the door, it's always going to be a warm lead that always needs to be converted by a salesperson. Yeah. Whereas consumer focus, there isn't a sales team. The marketing is the brand awareness, and then it's converting them for that final sale. So it's about the website, the experience there, which we've done a lot with. But it really starts with the social media, the brand awareness, all that kind of stuff. So people know who we are, and when they see us, they come to the site, and then the site acts as our salesperson and
That's
that
true,
converts
yeah.
them. So,
and it's interesting because we're marketing obviously the brand as a family of vendors, and we really want the connection to the vendor.
yeah,
We want our customers or the people that purchase things on the site to feel the connection to the vendor. So it's sort of our responsibility to represent
yeah.
our family of brands well, to represent each vendor well. And
Yeah, that's the challenge. It's like, it's how do we simplify the message in a way that resonates with the end customer, when the business and the business model is ultra complex. I mean, even how we are now, where we're just in Chicago and Grand Rapids for now. So we have a small set of vendors, 2 locations, 2 delivery trucks. It's a lot more centralized, but as we grow, as we expand, and we're across the country, it becomes ever more complex. But the central brand message has to stay the same.
Yeah.
The customer in Plano, Texas, has to resonate the same as a customer in South Dakota, wherever it is. That central message has to be the same.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like you said, it's managing, it's speaking for all of our vendors, making sure, and I think that comes to vendor selection and all that kind of stuff too, and that's the thing about marketing, is it all ties in with operations. So Seth focuses a lot on our vendor acquisition and managing those relationships, and that matters just as much as social media, as email, because that is our brand. It's who we are. Our vendors are who we are. So we find the ones that work with us, and then we, put out that message that culminates all of that.
Yeah, having good vendors, it makes everything better for everybody. For the customer, there's more products that they can buy from. For the vendor, you're bringing more customers because they can now buy a bunch of different things.
Yep.
So that vendor is going to get more sales. So it's really like what we're selling is the vendors. So that's a super important piece. But going back to the interview, you obviously have the business acumen and the passion for the marketing side of the business, but you also are really interested in this industry and space. And so that was one of the things that Chris and I really liked about, that interview, is like, we don't have to sell you on local food. We don't have to sell you on the problems in the industry. Like, those problems probably better than we do, and you live it every day. You and your fiance. So can you speak to like when you got interested in food, nutrition, and the whole food supply chain?
Yeah. So I think, like when people say like your food journey, it really is that. It's a journey. It takes steps. So I'm pretty young. I'm 24, but our journey started, I'd say, around 21, probably my sophomore year of college. Obviously, a broke college kid, so you can't really afford all organic and local. But what really evolves over time. It evolves quickly, but there's clear stages to it. So we started to sort of get with it a little bit. Started to see sort of the surface level stuff, like the most harmful additives. So the red 40, the colorings, the high fructose corn syrup, the very like the Little Debbie type Hostess treat. Like cut all that out. Eat whole foods. That's sort of where it starts. It's like, okay, I know that whole foods are good for me. That's what I need. I'm going to eat more vegetables. I'm going to eat more fruits. I'm going to eat more meat. Going to cut out the processed stuff.
This is in college?
Yeah. This is probably sophomore year of college.
I was just eating pasta in college.
I was eating Kraft mac and cheese, Hot Pockets.
$1 got you a long way with that.
Yeah. See, Kelsey didn't go to school, so she worked full time. So she was a little bit of my sugar mama during that period. So she set the course for how we were going to eat, and and she cooked, and so it was like,
that's pretty awesome.
It's great. Yeah.
So was she always interested in it, or did you guys sort of have this renaissance?
We sort of had it together. She led it for sure. She was active on social media, seeing all the trends sort of as they came up. But that's really how it started. We were both always very healthy, active people, so that side of it was always covered. But it was really the eating. My freshman year, I kind of, like you said, in college, it's all the processed junk, and but yeah, so that's where it started. And then sort of after that, we sort of started to find the farmers market. So that was sort of a phase 2, where you go to the farmers market, and it's like, again, so now we have the pillars in place. We know we need to eat whole foods. Now let's localize it a little bit more. But then the mindset then is it's the farmer's market, so it's healthy, which isn't necessarily the case. So there's layers to it. It's like an onion. So we go to the farmer's market, we're buying meat from a vendor at the farmer's market, just a farmer, but we don't know what they're feeding their beef. We don't know any of their practices, anything like that. So that was sort of our phase 2. It was a mix of, we go to the farmer's market. It was more of a novelty thing, like we've talked about before.
Yeah.
We get our staples, we get our meat, we get some vegetables, what's in season, but then we supplement with the grocery store, usually conventional at this point. And then that next step after that is really, like I said, looking into what is that animal eating? How is it raised? What is it being injected with? All this kind of stuff. So that was sort of the third layer of enlightenment, if you will. And then from there, it's like, okay, so we know whole foods are important. We know that local is important. So now we have to tighten up our standards a little bit, because then the nutrition isn't just about where you get it and what it is. It's about how it was raised. It's about the health of the soil. It was about what it's eating. I don't want a cow that's eating soy. I want a cow that's eating grass, as it's supposed to be. So that was sort of that third phase. Got a lot more expensive at that phase where it's all either local or organic, whole foods, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we prefer locally owned grocery stores as well. It's not sort of a step away from like a farmer, but it's also a step away from Whole Foods. Unfortunately, in our area, there was a Whole Foods, and then there was a locally owned grocery store called Foods for Living. But then Trader Joe's opened up right in between the two of them and shut them down within 2 months. So
Really?
We should bleep out all these Whole Foods and Trader Joe's.
should we?
I'm just kidding.
I don't think we should. Yeah. So that was sort of where we got to where we are now.
Yeah.
I mean, we've probably even more extreme than that, but very, very intentional about the practices for produce and for meats. When we can, access is a big thing, and that's why I'm passionate about Locavana. Is like,
Right.
if we had access to all of our dietary preferences, regeneratively raised, grass fed, and a lot of those for some people are buzzwords, but if you know your farmer, if you know how they're doing it, and it's actually aligning with those things, it does make a difference. And it makes a difference, like we talked about, I think in our interview a lot, was just a lot of the issues with the food supply in general, and how it doesn't support those sort of niche factions of it because there isn't a market for it. But the more people who are waking up to it and buying it, I mean, that's just basic economics. The demand is going to be higher, so then they're going to need more supply. So,
Right.
I guess that's a bit of our journey.
Well, and so this is perfect segue, because I've asked this to a lot of people who are into the space or knowledgeable. But so the big question is, and I think you would have good insight on this. So obviously, what we're setting out to do is to make people, like you said, make the accessibility for people that are growing things the proper way, nutritional, also local. So you're not spending money on middlemen and transportation.
Yep.
And that you're not degrading the nutritional value as it's shipped and whatnot. But the question I have, because this is what really Locavana will do, and with the understanding that this is a long battle. It's not a quick thing, but how do you feed the masses using the proper techniques? Because feedlots and importing beef from points unknown, that is done because there's too many people in this country to feed with the supply we have. And how do we do that? I mean, it's somewhat of a rhetoric. I mean, it's a big discussion, but what is
it's a huge discussion.
What's your take on that?
I mean, I can't say I'm an expert on it, but I do think we can strip it back a little bit. So we talked about this a bit on the last podcast with all of the acres that are going to be coming up for sale soon. If you look at the millions and millions of acres of farmland in the U.S. and look at what percentage of it is just growing corn and soy, that is all pasturable land. So basically what you're doing there is you're growing the food for the cattle that are then in a field over in a lot, if at all, or they're across the country. So use those thousands and thousands of acres on these giant farms that are just growing the inputs to feed the cattle. Use that to grow produce, to pasture animals, to have crop rotation. So you're growing crops, you're raising animals right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, so I guess that's on the industrial scale. There's all of this farmland that's using to supplement processed foods and to supplement animals CAFO animals and all that kind of stuff that are being raised incorrectly. So there's all that. That's sort of the low-hanging fruit. And then on a more individual scale, I think part of what we believe is, localizing the supply chain as much as possible. And a big part of that is sort of taking it into your own hands. So if you go back 100 years ago, 200 years ago, everybody grew food themselves too. And, obviously people in cities don't have the luxury, but a lot of people have land that they can grow gardens and that stuff themselves. But then also look at schools and churches. Just think about churches. You drive by a church, they have a huge lawn. It's just grass, manicured grass. How about take that and turn it into a community garden to feed your congregation or food people or poor people in your area? Because that's a big thing. Is it's obviously true that if we were to transition slowly to a more proper way of farming again, because we need to feed the masses, prices would go up because obviously the human inputs are a lot higher. So you have to hire a lot more people to manage it because you can't just set it and forget it. It's not just machines, and you can use machines and automation and to still do it right. But there's just a lot more manual labor, so the costs go up. But if a player comes in, Locavana, to really fix the supply chains, that's where a lot of the money is lost. So like the produce, you'll hear that the farmer at the end is only getting like 20 cents for the fruit that they sell or the veggies or the meats, because it goes through all of these areas in the supply chain. And like you like to say, like the transaction fleas, they're taking cuts everywhere you go, and then the grocery store takes the final cut. So the one who produces it, they're already working with slim margins. Even the farmers that are at the farmers market, the margins aren't low, and the inputs are just getting higher and higher. So that will be a reality. Obviously food prices would be higher, but food isn't supposed to be as cheap as it is. And I'm not making a claim that it's not good that food is cheaper, but all of the processed food that you come across and the conventional produce and all that kind of stuff, it's subsidized by the government, especially the processed food. It's the reason you can get cheap calories, whatever it is, like a $2 loaf of bread, is because that wheat is heavily subsidized by the government. So those farms are spraying it with glyphosate, and they're making a massive surplus and keeping it in silos. And the government's just paying for it to sit there to artificially drive the price down.
There's also like CRP land.
Yeah.
So they're just paying people not to farm.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
It's all market manipulation with the farming and government.
But again, so here, I'm just to play devil's advocate for the sake of the discussion. So this all started during the Roosevelt years when he had a famine on his hands. He had the Dust Bowl coinciding with the Great Depression, and they had to figure out a way to feed people. So yeah, it was like process wheat, make it, step on it. It's like the cartels, like let's stretch it. We got to figure out how to feed people. So now I do think that the key thing is the economics, because not that I wish it wasn't so. I wish that everybody just did the right thing because it was the right thing. But at the end of the day, you can't count on that.
Yeah.
Not for the next 1,000 years, at least, until we're all AI driven.
I don't know about that.
But
I'd be a little more optimistic. But
well, I'm not. The thing is, it's got to be economical. But what you like, if you could make it so that the producer was the biggest benefactor of the transaction, then it would be more incentive for producers to produce.
It's not just cutting out the middleman too. It's also helping with demand planning. So like obviously Locavana is cutting out the packager, the wholesaler, and the grocery store. So the farmer's automatically making way more margin. I mean, our fee is really small, really small. But the more important piece, like we've talked to some farmers and we're like, hey, can we sell to restaurants? And their response is, well, I'd have to like really plan and purchase more cattle. So when we're really built out, we're going to have, people on recurring subscription plans. So it's really easy to forecast, how much food people are going to buy through Locavana from all these different, regions. So that's going to give the farmer the ability to, maybe finance through other people and be able to predict how much food they need and invest in their farm and know that it's going to lead to, a good investment.
It's also a good point because they're definitely in the pricing and in the strategy. They're building in a lot of waste.
Yes.
In the food supply chain.
Oh yeah.
So if you could eliminate that
Massive
waste,
waste.
as well, because now you're not overproducing just to overproduce, because you're just going to throw 30% of it away anyway.
Yeah.
Which in some cases is that's not an unrealistic. I mean, like, and I know that there's people out there that are trying to collect, wasted crops and redistribute them and whatnot, but it's just, that becomes like more work and cost than it's worth.
And the CSA tries to address that demand thing, but there's just some limitations that I think our model is going to improve upon. So you can actually pick the specific items in your box that you'd have, and not have to commit to a long period of time, which not a lot of people want to do. So I think the CSA helps those farmers plan, but I think there's ways to really make that better for the customer.
Yeah, definitely.
So, how do you what's a weekly meal planning in the Johnston household?
Yeah, I mean, we eat a lot of red meat. So we eat, don't necessarily follow it to a T, but if you've heard of the Weston A. Price Foundation, they have sort of a dietary guideline, and it's really focused on, obviously, on processed and whole foods, but there's a heavy focus on the Weston A. Price Foundation. They heavy focus on red meats, so we eat a lot of ground beef, a lot of steak when we can get it. Our farmer she's got the best steak out there, in my opinion, but we can't. She can't keep up with the demand. She limits us to 5 ribeyes per order, unfortunately. But so when we have it, we eat a lot of steak. I mean, we do. Again, we're not crazy
I've seen
about
some of the pictures that your fiance puts out there.
Oh yeah,
she looks like she can put a meal together.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's the thing about Whole Foods is, like, when you're eating nutritious, quality local foods, like, you can eat it plain. You could eat just a steak with butter and enjoy it, or you can make a complex meal with a bunch of different veggies and meats.
You can't overeat it.
Yeah.
It's really hard to overeat Whole Foods.
That's the thing. You can't, and that's what we talk about is, like, we're never gonna be. It's like, it's not even in a possibility for us to be overweight or obese, like so much of this country is at this point. Like, when you're eating real foods, it's impossible. I mean, you can't. Obviously, it's possible if you were to shove it down your throat, but it's satiating. So you stop yourself. It's not empty calories. It fills you up. So you can't overeat. And even if you did, it's real food. So you can't.
I mean, look at nature. We talked about this earlier. Like, there are very few fat animals in nature because they don't have processed foods.
Yeah.
They're not overeating.
Exactly.
But you see a dog who is eating processed food.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
like, the dogs that are in homes will get fat. It's the only animal I've ever seen that's obese.
It's sad.
And
it is, because they live with dumb humans.
yeah, and they're snacking on whatever's getting fed under the table.
Oh, that's why they feed them the human feed. And
And so this is another point, because, I mean, in some ways, I think the common conception is that eating processed foods is cheaper. And yes, you could buy, I don't know, a pack of Little Debbie for like 99 cents probably still.
Mm-hmm.
But like you pointed out a couple days ago, I think, like a bag of potato chips for $5 contains 5 ounces of potato chips.
The ratio is
which
crazy.
is meaning that, like, a potato costs about $2 a pound, $1.50 a pound.
Yeah.
Yet here you're getting per pound, it's like $16 a pound.
Yep.
For potato chips.
For air. Yeah.
So if you sold potato chips, that would be awesome. We should just make a list of every food by its pound.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, steak, $26 a pound. That's so much.
That'd be a great chart.
And you're like, well, do you want to pay $15 a pound for your potato chips?
Yeah, and I got a lot of love from my haters on social media.
But even like beef jerky on a per pound basis is really pricey compared to actual meat.
Why though?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess why not? Because they can get it.
Because it's the packaging, it's the marketing.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
But that's so like, and even I like the McDonald's of the world and stuff. Like, it's really not cheap on now, if you look at calories, sure, because that's not what you're going for. Like,
no.
But for the actual amount of food you're getting, certainly the nutritional value and all that, it's actually extremely expensive.
Well, and also, like, I think we were just talking about this the other day with, like, delivery services, because, I mean, majority of people are eating multiple meals a week at least from DoorDash or Grubhub. If you look at the McDonald's prices on those apps, they upcharge. So it's like ridiculous how expensive it is. And it's really, I mean, you're paying like $6-7 for a burger. You can, I mean, you could get a pound of grass-fed ground beef for very close to that. And that's a whole pound. You can make 3/4 pound or 4 quarter pounders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's better for you too. So it is really crazy.
It's wild. I mean, and so that we should do that though. We should do a per pound.
Yeah.
Here's everything in life per pound.
Yeah.
And then I think you'd see that. And then we combine it with the satiety index that you were, is that how you say it?
Yeah, I like that.
Satiety?
As long as that's accurate,
Satiety.
that's the only limitation. Which, if you can find a way, there's probably a way to like.
How did they come up with that chart?
No idea. I just tweeted it out.
It's a good
Assumed it was right.
fit the narrative. Why not?
It fit the point I was trying to make, so I just let it fly.
But there's no doubt that there's
But let's explain what that is.
There's a point.
So the concept was, I was looking at Ozempic, and Ozempic is the drug that people are taking to lose weight, and it confirms that if you take Ozempic, you don't eat as much, and tons of people are losing weight, and it's just from not eating. I'm pretty sure that's true. It's not like something the drug is magically doing in your body. It's just making you not as hungry, so you eat fewer calories and you lose weight. So my assumption is people just don't have a ton of willpower. If you're just like, hey, restrict your calories, like it's not going to be ultra successful.
Yep.
So if that's true, what do we need to do if somebody doesn't want to take Ozempic? You need to eat satiating calories.
Yeah.
So when you do eat, it fills you up, and on a per calorie basis, it's more satiating.
So satiating would be like a way of saying it makes you not hungry.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It satisfies you.
And so there's this graph called the satiety index where they compare everything to a slice of white bread. And so the white bread is 100. If it's more satiating, it'll get a score of 250. If it's less satiating, like baked chips, it'll be like 50.
Right.
So my thought was, if that's an accurate thing that you can measure, like why not put that on every food label? So you see the calories on a food label, and then you can see how satiating this is. And it's like, well, I'm hungry. This actually is not going to satisfy my hunger.
Yeah.
So maybe I should eat something that's actually going to satisfy my hunger at that decision-making stage.
Can you pull that chart up?
Well, that's how processed food companies.
So I wonder where does Snickers fall?
Well, that's how all those companies make their money.
It's negative. It makes you more hungry.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
After you
That's the thing that they profit off of, is the fact that you're not just going to buy one bag. You're going to buy 2, 3, 4, 5 because you're just snacking on it, and then you want more because it's addicting and it doesn't satisfy you.
So for me, like my biggest personal satisfaction with doing this Locavana, again, there's so many things I like. I mean, I like obviously health. I like food. I like supply. My probably number one thing is I hate being treated like I'm dumb. And on a daily basis, I think.
Explain that. Like what?
Well,
what's making you feel like you're dumb?
Like somebody puts on a commercial that something is satisfying.
Yeah.
And then we all believe it. We're all like, oh yeah, well Snickers said it satisfies. There's no data.
It makes you become an NBA player, like the LeBron James or someone will bite it and then go dunk. And
Right. But it's like, I don't like having the wool pulled over my eyes. I don't like to go to a grocery store and have something say that it is, USDA and it's approved, but in reality it was imported. And the standards for importing frozen meat are actually different because it's imported. And they put this sticker on there like, oh, it's USDA.
USDA choice.
Yeah, but it's actually not from the U.S. at all, and that the USDA standard for it to be imported is lower. Like I don't like to feel like somebody thinks I'm an idiot.
yeah.
And in that case, I do. If they're like, oh, he's just a dumb American guy that'll eat whatever we put in front of him, and honestly, I mean that's how we, me, many people in the 80s. The 80s, man, was a hell of a time. We ate like Fruity Pebbles, and it was like, this is part of a balanced breakfast. That's they used to say, like part of a balanced breakfast. There is nothing balanced about that garbage. That is the worst. There isn't one shred of nutrition in that, and that's what we were sold forever. And even like I mean, every industry does it though. It's all these big marketing ploys to tell you, to make you believe fundamentally in a thing. And you're supposed to sort of blindly believe that the government and all these other regulatory bodies have your best interest in mind. And the reality is they're all being lobbied. They're all being paid. There's, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's just a reality. I mean, it's true. And I don't like being treated like I'm stupid. So that's my favorite part of it.
And you think, and also you think you break away from it when you start to wake up and you stop shopping at Walmart and you start shopping at Whole Foods, but then you realize, look at the labels there too. It's all greenwashing. It's all marketing tricks. It's all like, I mean, you go away from the produce aisle at Whole Foods and you start to look at the process. It's all, I mean, there's good stuff there, of course. Sure. I mean, it's better, but there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, it's chock full of seed oils, natural flavors, all these things that aren't, it's all deceiving to you too. And and if it's not organic, it's got natural or family farm on there, just like all those gimmicky things that,
and even what's legal to say.
Yeah. And it gets people. And you might think that, again, like you said, like thinking you're dumb. Obviously I'm not going to fall for that. A lot of people do. Yeah. A lot of people do.
I don't understand why every nut has canola oil in it. I was at Whole Foods the other day. I couldn't find one thing that didn't have canola oil or sunflower oil.
What do you mean? What, every nut?
Every almond, cashew.
Like they put canola oil on the
in the
nuts?
ingredients, there's
like roasted nuts.
Nuts. Yeah, there's canola oil in everything.
Really?
Say why?
It's because it doesn't have any flavor. So if you use olive oil, it's going to taste like olive oil. You use anything else, and that's why people want to use those seed oils, is because they're just heated to the point where they don't have any flavor. That's why they're cooking oils. That's why like you'll find like a Michelin star chef using canola oil, because it doesn't have any taste, so you can focus on the taste of the food.
Why do you need oil at all to roast a nut?
Ben question. But I saw Sweet Green stop using seed oils.
Yeah.
They're air frying now all their fries actually.
But like, so this is what I don't understand though. So you're allowed to, like, all of these things that you're allowed to say on packaging, and if you try, so for me, if you try and chase like every single, I don't want to say fad, but every new development, like, because like the crazy thing is, so let's take seed oil as a good example. So it used to be you fry everything in beef fat, or animal fat or whatever. Then that was going to kill you. So like, let's switch to the vegetable oil because it's so much better for you. And now we're like, no, vegetable oil is terrible. Everything should be in animal fat. Like, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to. Here's what I know. I'm going to stick to what I know based on my own common sense and instinct, which is if I can recognize it and know what it is and read the word, it's good.
Well, and that's how we do it. It's intuitive eating. Yeah. It's like, do people like, I think I've seen a meme. It's like, when you're, it's like hunter gatherers, like hunting going on a hunt for a wild boar, and they're like, separate the tallow from it because it's bad for them. They're gonna use canola oil. No, it's like butter, and it's what everything they tell you is bad is what's obviously good. I mean,
like margarine. Yeah, that was the big thing. It was like, don't eat butter. You should eat margarine. And it's like, now I don't even. Do they even sell margarine anymore? Or is that just debunked?
They do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not butter because
there's either greenwashed. There's green, like you see all like this vegan fat, all this kind of stuff is like there's vegan. All the vegan stuff is such a scam because all of it is chock full of seed oils and just garbage. It's like the most ultra processed food possible.
Like those Impossible meats are complete garbage.
Oh my god!
I did a vegan diet last year for like 6 months. And I've like no motivation for it other than like I've never done it, and I like to do things I've never done just to see. So I did it, and during that I learned a few things. First of all, I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it for the sake of like do it properly and not. And I was like, if you're gonna, I looked at the nutrition, like those Impossible meats, they are so bad for you, and including the fat and the salt and all that stuff is every bit as bad. The fat content is higher than beef. The salt content is astronomical. Then there's all chemicals and everything else. So it's like, and it makes sense because in life you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Like there's no way it's going to taste like beef but be deliciously healthy for you. It's so bad. So I just did I ate a ton of rice and beans. I ate tofu. I ate like all kinds of stuff. And again, you can probably do people. I'm not saying being vegan is bad. You could do it. People probably do it. You could probably put. I did it pretty strictly and pretty thoughtfully.
Did you think about your protein, or did you just care
I thought about nothing but my protein.
'Cause that's the hardest part.
You
Is
can't
getting enough
get any.
protein. Yeah.
So I knew how much every single meal, and I was like, I could barely get enough.
Yeah.
But what I didn't concentrate enough on, which I think caused me to have some strange injuries, was the amino acids. So in meat, it's super easy to get the right amino acids: fish, chicken, beef, and being vegan, because you have to make the perfect proteins. So beans have one sort of amino acid, rice has a different, peanut butter has a different.
Yep.
So you actually have to eat meals that combine them to try and get the right amino acids. And again, if you had nothing to do but sit there and think about this, you could probably put a lot of thought into it and get all the amino acids, or you could just eat a piece of fish.
Well, vitamins are a big thing too. It's there's no non-animal source for vitamin B12, and B12 is critical for cognitive function, and it's been linked to depression deficiencies in it. And you can't get it without supplementing with the only vegan way to supplement it is with a synthetic vitamin.
That there makes me think okay, biology is telling me that I need this thing, and I can't get it through this product.
Right.
That's weird.
But so what ended up happening to me, I had all kinds of bizarre injuries, like my knees, my Achilles tendon,
I remember that
my
your
shoulder.
ankles were messed up.
My
during that
ankles
time.
swelled up. I had some weird, and I just started thinking, and for some reason it didn't occur to me at first. I was like, why am I getting all these weird injuries? And then I was like, you know what? And I forget how I came across it. I think it was with the Achilles tendon thing. I was like, oh, I'm going to try and take a supplement because collagen. Oh, that's what I was.
Collagen.
I was like, oh yeah, tendons are made out of collagen. So then I started researching collagen, and it was like, oh yeah, you need these amino acids to do this. And then I was like, wait a minute, I've been reading about vegan and amino acids, and I was like, so I started eating meat, and I haven't it went away again.
Yeah,
causation, correlation, I don't know, but for me, I definitely discovered that I don't get the right diet.
Your body gives you. I think that's powerful because your body will tell you when you're not getting what you need. So many, if you go back in history, the illnesses that would break out, scurvy, beriberi, ricket. I mean, all of these things, they came from a subset of the population not getting a certain nutrient or vitamin. And that's what we see today, but you see it manifested in mental health, and now everybody's on SSRIs. And a lot of it, I mean, there's a lot of causes for it. There's chemicals everywhere, but a lot of it goes back to what we're eating.
The gut.
Yeah, well, the gut is huge, and all of these processed foods, you just destroying your gut. And I mean, we could get into pharma too, but that's where you're really destroying your gut, taking your ibuprofens and your just everything is overprescribed, and it's just all a cycle.
Are you guys familiar with the Lindy effect? It's a Nassim Taleb thing.
No.
So the idea, I'm going to butcher this a little bit, but the idea comes from people in New York would go to this bar. I think it was the Lindy Bar, and they noticed that plays on Broadway, the longer that they've been around, the longer they'd stay on Broadway. It's the older something is, the more likely it was to stay on Broadway for future years. And I think you can apply the same concept to a lot of things in life.
What does that have to do with the bar?
The bar, that's just how they came up with it. They went to this bar and they came up with it. I don't know. That's a Nassim question. But the whole idea with food, it's the same thing where the longer our ancestors have been eating it, there's thousands of years of evidence that, people have been eating these foods. Yeah. So it's more likely to be the case that in the future, people are going to continue eating those foods where the things processed foods that are very new, the margarine, the impossible meats, you can't really trust these things because they haven't been around as long as you can with meat, vegetables, fruit.
But I think that was a good segue, what you said about the history, how long we've eaten these things, and in regards to processed foods. But I think brings up another interesting point about localizing the food supply, because now that we have access to everything, people in Michigan have avocados and chia seeds and all these things regular in their diet. And obviously, they're whole foods, and I'm not trying to demonize them. I eat avocados too. But that's another thing that we don't think about. What is the effect of these things that my ancestors are from Europe, they would have never touched an avocado.
Right.
And it's like, what, my body doesn't necessarily, it's the same thing like with cows. Like they have a rumen. That's the only reason that they're able to digest grass.
I'm from the avocado capital of the world, so
Yeah.
this is a
For you.
shot across the bow right now.
No, it's not.
No, but you should never eat cherries.
Yeah, exactly. Your body may be more attuned to avocados, but yeah, I think that's just, it just goes into the whole thing of like, we as humans in the last 100 years, we jump into things head first without thinking about the potential consequences of them. And like our biology is it's very sound. It's been, it's
That's
been
super interesting actually though, because people evolve differently depending on where your ancestors are from.
100%.
I've never thought about that. So the foods you eat, your body is probably more likely to respond to certain foods your ancestors have been eating than others. Wow, I never considered that.
Well, so, and this is where, again, I think for me, I think that's what I like about the Locavana thing is everybody gets to make a choice, but we provide the platform and the information, the transparency. So for me, like, again, if somebody was to put French fries in front of me and say this one was vegetable oil and this one was beef fat, even what I know, because as a child, I was brought up like beef fat is gonna kill you and blah, 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 blah. Like I would eat the beef fat ones, believe me. But I would be doing it like against my first instinct. It's like, whoa, can't eat beef fat. That's like lots of fat.
Interesting.
I put it all over my face now every morning.
Oh yeah.
It's that baby glow you got. But like I want the option, but it's still like what you're brought up with.
Yeah.
Is like your first, that's your knee jerk. But I think the bottom line for me is eat real and diverse.
Yep.
I don't really care anything else. That's why cause margarine, that's what I grew up on too. It's like butter's bad. Eat margarine. We had margarine.
That's such a scam.
Yeah.
Butter's
And it's crazy, but
so
that's
good
how
for you.
they sold it.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, like butter comes from milk that's just shaken up.
Yeah.
Pretty natural. Although there's plenty of people out there that would say like, why do we drink the milk of a different animal? I think that's fair enough. So dairy is whatever, but
I think you'd have the same argument for cultivating land and growing plants. 'Cause
Yeah,
we're
I
humans
guess.
and
Yeah,
we
I
have
mean, you could-
an innate ability to do so that nobody else does.
yeah. So
A cat would drink the milk from a cow's udder if it had the option to. I mean,
well, that's true, yeah. But so butter's real. So then, like, and you can only, like with butter, you could eat a stick of butter if you could stomach it, and that's like a lot of milk. But then you take like a seed oil. So people have always eaten seeds, and seeds are good for you. I think eaten just whole, and then but like to make a jar of oil from that seeds, it's like a bucket of seeds. Like you could never eat that many seeds.
It's a huge amount to get like one little bottle of
Yeah.
oils.
well, and they're not just squeezing them because there's no naturally occurring oil in them. You need inputs. You need synthetic inputs. You need chemicals. Yeah,
Really?
like
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
I
and
just thought
that's-
they squeezed them.
that's the easiest thing. Yeah, I mean that's the easiest way to differentiate like what oils are good for you and bad for you. Like,
Really?
do they naturally have oil? Yeah, avocados are oily. Olives are oily because they're. I mean, you could smash them up and then you could get oil from them. Seed oil is if you grab a sunflower seed, it's not oily. They don't just squeeze them. Like you need.
Really? I
yeah.
always thought that. I don't know.
Oh, I should show you a video of how.
What about the petroleum-based oils?
Yeah, well, that's what they all have to
That's
be.
oily.
Yeah, no, it's really crazy. There's so many inputs. It's a really big industrial process to get oil from these things that don't naturally have oil.
Interesting.
It's pretty crazy.
I want to go back to your point though on kind of what we provide as far as the transparency because we're not farmers. We've got a bar for quality to be on our website, but there's an argument that some people want grain-fed beef because they like the marbling, and there's ways to raise cattle to have really good grain-fed beef, which we have. Some people really want certified organic vegetables and fruits. We provide that. We make it transparent, but there's other farms that don't think it's worth the time to have that certification. And so what we provide is the ability to put on the website exactly what your growing methods are. We've got icons for organic. We've got icons for pasture raised, all those different things. So as long as you meet our threshold for quality, we just give farmers the platform to say why they use their growing methods, and then the customer can make the decisions themselves. The pricing is often different for those different things too. So maybe there's certain things that you really care about and you'll pay more for those, and there's others where you care less about and it's above the Locavana, level of quality, so you can trust it still.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah, and I did a study actually that we need to publish this, but I did an analysis on a Lunchable. You know what that is? It's like the trash food that everybody
I ate that every day in third grade.
Yeah, that was
the
thing.
pepperonis were incredible. with the really dry cracker. I can taste them. Oh my gosh, terrible.
So you could take our vendors and replicate a Lunchable for the same or less money as a Lunchable with local.
So what ingredients would you use?
So I did like, I wanted to make it as apples to apples as possible. So there was one with like, I think it was like pepperoni. I think it was that pepperoni when you're just like pepperoni.
Pizza. It's like
cheese,
a cracker.
And like, and some sort of little fake bread thing and whatever else. And so I just took our vendor that has their bison sticks, which is the bison that they grow on their property, and they have them made into sticks. We had some crackers from our bread vendor. It had cheese from our cheese vendor. And then because the price was still so low and I figured you could do it, and ours I threw in part of an apple. Mm-hmm. And that's like a full meal. I actually matched the calories because there's like a, dietary guideline for a child of how many calories they should get. So I figured for a lunch, I forget exactly. I think a child should have like 14 to 1,600 calories. So a lunch should be somewhere around 400 calories or 500 calories. No, 3 or 4, whatever. Yeah, so like, it was about the same amount of calories as the Lunchable, which meets the caloric guideline. But then the nutritional value is extraordinarily higher, obviously, on the local food with real meat and apples and that sort of thing. And the Lunchable is just... And that's to say nothing of all the chemicals and the garbage.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing about, just the idea that I think everybody's ingrained to believe like, oh, if you go to the farmer's market, it's going to be so expensive, and it's really not. You can.
It's not, but it's also it's a priority thing too, and I think that's what people are waking up to is like the importance of it's going to cost a little bit more money. It might not be as much as you think, but if you look historically, like. And there are other factors to this, but like 70, 80 years ago, people spent upwards of 50% of their income on food. And, part of that is food costs were higher. And there's other factors to it. But if you look at it in a vacuum, a lot of it is because you're cooking every meal at home. You cared about food. You were buying locally. You're buying from people around you. They didn't have this artificially low cost food. So today, like, obviously there are people who... at lower income levels who need access to the really, really cheap stuff just to survive. And that's not who I'm talking about. But the amount of people I talk to who make a good living and they spend $50 a week on groceries, people nowadays spend 7 to 10% of their income on food. So it's not that they can't afford it. It's that they're choosing these other pleasures on subscriptions. I think I made a video about this. Like, subscriptions to all your streaming services and vacations and all these things that you don't need, and medicines. Again, it's you either pay for it now or you're going to pay for it in the future with your health, with your hospital bills, with all this, with your
and that's when it gets really sad. And that's when it goes from being like, I don't know, annoying to being like to inducing anger. When it's like we are America is the life expectancy in America is declining. Yeah. Declining as the primary, world leader in medicines and everything else. And we have a declining birth rate. It's embarrassing. It's frightening.
What you said, birth rate. That's
I
true
meant,
too, though.
yeah, I meant life expectancy,
That's
but
true,
birth
too.
rate's also true.
It's more of a cultural thing.
And birth
but
rates also. I mean, but that I don't know. Then there's the people that I don't have any evidence of this that talk about chemicals in food and changing hormone levels. You know, that's
plastics.
Yeah.
Oh, if you look at the amount of eggs that women have at age 30 today versus 50 years ago, it is, I mean,
higher or lower?
Oh, much lower. I mean, like a few.
Even like testosterone levels amongst men are way down versus 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Like if you wait, like it was a normal thing 50 years ago to wait to have kids if you wanted to until 30, and then you could have a family of 5 and you could keep having kids well into your 40s. That's just not, I mean, it's a thing for some people who take care of their body today, but it's not. It's not the thing for most people. It's and people don't realize that this is like an epidemic that people do not see because
it's true. And then it's, you know, then there's lots of money to be made from creating medicines to counteract this
and fertility treatments and all that kind of stuff.
And you
it's a whole
need
big
medicine
industry.
to counteract the medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And again, this is where I don't like being treated like I'm an idiot. But all you can do is control what you can control, and that's why having Locavana, even as personally shopping for myself, I like it because I feel like I get to control what food goes into my family's house, and I know the people. I know the farms. I know what they do. I know how they do it. You know,
and the supply chain issues with local agriculture is one of the reasons why you need a solution like this. Because like I've said it before, but like a farmer's market, even if you are the most passionate about food and sustainability and all this stuff, which I would consider myself to be, you can't, like, it feels gimmicky. It feels like a special thing. Like you go to the farmer's market once a week, and we treat it as grocery shopping, but most people just, you know, put on your calendar, if you can go, you can go. You buy you buy some honey, you buy some whatever, but people don't think of it like a replacement for a grocery store because it's not available all the time.
Right, it's once a week. And there's also the thing that Seth brought up a couple weeks ago. All you can get is what you can carry there. Like you go to the grocery store, they give you a trolley.
Take right to your car.
Just pile as much crap in here as you possibly can.
Yeah, and
throw it in the trunk of your car.
As much as it's great, I mean, an in-person market and everybody together, it's community, it's awesome. But
and I don't think it'll ever go away, and we don't want it to.
No,
it's an experience.
Awesome.
It's like it's an experience, and it's awesome. But we have to evolve with the conveniences that people are used to. I mean, people are used to having their food delivered or going to a grocery store where they can have aisles of shelves that they just walk through and throw things in their cart. Yeah. Like we can't try and turn back the clock 100 years and make it all like a farmer's market all the time. Like there's not just going to be an open street market and that's the way that you get your food. It's just not.
Wrapping every pear in little paper.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the NFL. Like going to a sporting event at the NFL stadium is an experience. You do it once a year. Right. Not to say you go to farmers markets once a year, but it's a more rare thing.
A lot of people do.
Where
once or twice a summer.
Yeah. But like if you're a Lions fan here in Michigan, like you're watching every game at your house. Like that's your recurring routine.
Now you're watching it on your phone.
On your phone, wherever you want it. And like that's what we're trying to provide. We're not saying never go to the NFL stadium, never get that experience. We're just making it easy when you don't want to go there.
Yeah. Well, so you can pull out your phone. You can shop like you're used to shopping right on your phone while you're, laying on the couch. And then it gets delivered to your doorstep.
It's not just good for the consumer, but it's good for the vendor. I mean, you think about farmers are the hardest working people, some of the hardest working people, and then they have to go to markets sometimes every day of the week to sell their food and to make a living. Yeah. They're waking up early in the morning to do their farm work. They're working on the farm all day long. And then you have to go and be the sales and marketing for your food too, to be able to buy more inputs and to keep it going. Yep. So providing an option that doesn't take a ton of margin from them. They don't have to go anywhere. We pick it up from them. Offering that frees them up. Like I've talked to farmers, a few that I support closely, we buy from a lot in our family. They have kids. Farming is their job and they love it and they live on the land, of course, but they don't want it to be their 24/7 job. I mean, they don't have the luxury of clocking out at 5. No. So it's like if there can be a way for them to do what they love and tend their fields and be a steward of their land and make food for the community while also being able to have their family and do things for themselves and just have a weekly pickup instead of having to lug all their table and their their banner and all of the food to the market
in the summer, which is the nicest part of the year.
Right.
Exactly.
In Michigan, when you bear through the winter, then you have to spend your Saturdays and Sundays all day at the market.
I think at the end of the day, what Locavana is it is finally aligning the existing food production infrastructure in the United States with the technologies that we have available in modern society to make life easy, to make profit higher, to make convenience higher, to make the overall experience higher for buyer and seller.
And to make it make sense.
We're just leveraging technologies that exist and infrastructures that exist that have not, they've been applied so many other industries. This particular niche has yet to enjoy the efficiencies that technology can bring.
And our business model, like a lot of people see all this noise at the grocery store, all these greenwashing, certifications, all these marketing labels. I think what actually matters is three things. Is it directly sourced? Do you know who it came from? Is it fresh? Because a lot of these vegetables, like they will lose all of their nutrients if it's in transit for several weeks. And then 3, is it naturally grown? And so if you buy from Locavana, you can guarantee all 3 of those things are going to happen for you. So it takes a lot of the guesswork and all of the research and the validation, because we've done that validation for you. Then it's just like, do you care about the bells and whistles on the certifications? Like those options are available. But the 3 things that actually matter, like you have confidence that everything on Locavana's site, are going to be fresh, are going to be directly sourced and naturally grown in the right ways.
And that's why like a lot of the convenience things that these grocery stores offer. So like Whole Foods, you can get a pickup order and people go around and shop for you. But a lot of people are adverse to that because they want to pick out their fruits and vegetables themselves. They want to know that it's not bruised, that it's fresh, that it's good. Because I mean, I do that all the time. When I'm shopping for my produce, I want to be the one doing it. And the only reason that exists is because the grocery store, it's so hit or miss. Even a Whole Foods, even with organic, half of them, if not more, are just look bad. They're dry, they're bruised, they're whatever it may be. They're just not good quality. So if you can have the peace of mind that everything is grown within even 100 miles of you, and it's grown sustainably, it was picked that week, if not a couple days before, that it's gonna. You don't have to. It takes the guesswork out of it. Like Seth said, it's just
Well, and here's another thing. And again, I will submit that this is an accusation, and I don't have necessarily evidence, and I'm not here to. This isn't a trial, and I don't really care. This is my statement. But so you go to the grocery store and buy organic carrots. Do you bring a kit with you, like to scientifically test these to make sure that they're organic?
Of course not.
We talked to one of our salmon vendors, and he was talking about the fact that I think it was like 15% of salmon that's labeled as wild caught is actually mislabeled.
I think it was higher than 15%.
Yeah, it was something.
It's high.
And that's mislabeled, and it's never mislabeled where it's like we accidentally marked wild caught salmon as farmers.
Right. Yeah.
It's always farm raised salmon is accidentally mislabeled as wild caught. How many times is an organic apple mislabeled as, it's not. It's from Chile and it's been sprayed with a million things, but they put an organic sticker. Like we're putting a lot of trust in stickers. And labels.
Think about the incentive of a grocery store just to be like, I'm going to put these bananas in the organic section and get 40% more.
Yeah. And how's anybody going to tell you that they're not?
Yeah.
Well, and there's also like we've grown accustomed to like the standards at grocery store. It's conventional or it's organic. And with organic, you know what you're getting generally. That's like the way to differentiate the two. With something like Locavana, you get a window into your produce in a way that you never have gotten before. Because with organic, that apple, even if it was truly organic, it's got a wax on it, sometimes synthetic. If you look at the list at Whole Foods, there's a little sign, it's usually conspicuously placed. It'll show you the different types of waxes that are even on organic things, and some of them are synthetic, plastics.
Really?
So there's that. You can also spray organic pesticides. There are organic pesticides and herbicides and other additives. So organic doesn't mean much. And if it's at Whole Foods, I'm not calling out Whole Foods, but it's the most industrial organic that you can get. So you better bet that it's going to be that. It's whatever's cheapest.
I mean, bottom line is Whole Foods has to answer to shareholders.
Well, exactly.
They're reporting their profit on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
And you better believe that that matters to them a lot.
But at Locavana, I mean, we may have somebody who's certified organic, but you can take it a step further and you can click the farm and you can see exactly what they do.
You can message them.
You can message
There's a
them.
messaging feature. You can
set up a tour with their farm. You can go see what they do. And even if they're
every
not,
single vendor that we've ever had has wanted people to go see.
Yeah, they want that.
Oh,
like that was the initial concern that vendors had, is like, I want to still have the relationship with the customer.
Yeah.
So we are not getting in the way of that at all. Like we promote that.
We want them to talk to each other.
Yeah.
If at the end of the day a customer wants to just go to the farm, go to the farm. We are a logistics provider.
Yeah.
We're not a middleman. We get paid when we transport something, when we physically move a product and deliver it right to the doorstep of a customer. And we've created an infrastructure to do that. We don't want to be a middleman. And if at the end of the day, to me, it's just like FedEx. I could drive my package to California, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna pay them to do it. So like we can do it so efficiently because we have the density, we have the infrastructure, and that's what it is. But the relationship, and that's a key thing too. And it's almost a little bit spooky if you think about like you said, 150 years ago, maybe less, really. You only ate what was grown like in your town.
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird to think like we're an animal and we're just eating food. We don't even know where it came from. It came probably from different continents, different times. We have no idea, but somebody's like, here, eat this. And it's good. Like an example. And this is again, where I don't like being treated like an idiot. So like, and my wife is also very healthy eater, health focused and all this. And so we were eating salmon, a lot of salmon. And we're like, we're doing the right thing. We're eating salmon. It's brain food. It's this, that, and the other thing. And we ate what was available to us at the time. It was farm-raised salmon. Yep. And I'm like, well, that sounds good. It's good to farm salmon. I don't know that. And
it's great marketing, actually. If you don't really know what it is.
Yeah. And then when we spoke with our salmon supplier, he was talking about the fact that because those salmon are not able to eat the natural diet of a salmon, which is krill, which krill is what gives a real salmon its red color. So because they can't eat the krill, to make them look like they're actually salmon, they feed them red dye.
Yeah.
So now you're eating, so you think you're going out of your way to like, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to eat the right thing. So I'm going to buy this piece of salmon, only to find out, and like they don't put a sticker on it that says like this is filled with dye, obviously.
Yeah, and they don't spray it with dye after the fact, or they'd have to put it on the label. They feed it. It's insidious.
Yeah.
Like they make it so that you can just
and
market it as salmon.
And you don't know the questions to ask. That's for me. This whole process of doing Locavana has made me acutely aware that the first thing you have to do is figure out what questions to ask.
Yeah,
because you can just be like, "Oh, is this good?" Sure, it's good. Salmon.
Well, most restaurants is farm raised, so a lot of people are used to that taste.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't taste like salmon.
Yeah, it's less fishy.
Right, but that's the thing that I think you can get the control, you can get the visibility, you can read the story, you can message the vendor, so that when you eat something, when you put something into your mouth and into your family's dinner plate, you actually like can feel where it came from, which it's crazy how we've all become accustomed to not worrying about it. Like, I don't know, somebody said it was good. It had an organic sticker on it. There can't be petroleum on it.
Well, and like you said with the farm-raised fish and like the taste of it, people being accustomed to it, you don't know what you don't know. If you've never tasted farm fresh food, and you talked about this in our last podcast, you don't know what it tastes. You don't know the difference. You don't know what a real strawberry tastes like. You don't know what real broccoli tastes like. You don't know what real wild caught salmon tastes like until you've had it. And that after that point, then it's like going back is hard.
Yeah.
So it's like
The quality is crazy.
Yeah, and while the industrial side of things, whether it's processed or it's industrial meat, while they have the benefit of being able to add addictive elements to their food and all these additives and MSG and all this kind of stuff, the people doing it right, they have the benefit of biology and quality. So when you have it, it's addicting in the same way that eating a bag of chips is addicting, but it's not wrecking your health. Right. And I think that's something that people don't think about too, is like, when you're talking about the Lunchables, it made me think about like growing up. I was always a packed lunch kid. My mom would always make us food. I never bought lunch, and we didn't have like Lunchables. She would make us food, which I'm grateful for. Yeah. But you think about at school, people would trade, and I would do this too. I would trade apples or my sandwich for Cheez-Its or something like that. Yeah. But kids, and this is something that we need to look at as a society, is if you've never had it, you don't know what it tastes like. You don't know anything different. So like I have a 5-month-old, and he's never gonna have processed food. He's never gonna taste it. He's never gonna taste artificial sweeteners. So honey is gonna be the sweetest thing that he ever has, and it'll be just as sweet to him as high fructose corn syrup is to a normie kid.
Honestly, that's how
like that.
that's how my kids are.
Yeah.
And we brought them to we were on vacation in San Diego, and there's like the Old Town.
Yeah.
If you've ever been there. And there's this place, it's a store that's like renowned for this root beer. And my kids maybe few times in their lives have ever had, I don't even know, like they don't have soda because we don't have soda. And we brought them, but it was like, oh, this is a special occasion. And we gave them root beer, and they like 2-3 sips, and they're like, really don't like this.
I can't
It makes me feel bad.
Yeah, I can't eat highly processed stuff anymore without feeling like getting a headache and feeling sick.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for me. I mean, it's like maybe a second, but it's like.
And whenever like someone brings cake, like when we were in an office setting, people bring cake into the office, and they're like, "Seth, why aren't you eating it?" Yeah. And they think it's like a discipline thing. Like, no, I'm going to feel like shit if I eat this. I'm going to feel terrible for the rest of the day, just because my body's not used to it.
Yeah.
It's everything. That's how I feel about processed grains. I think that's a big one. And you talked about gut, and that's one of the biggest things. Is like grains are so high in glyphosate. So if you're eating conventional grains, so whether that be pizza or sandwich or anything, pasta, it really, at least for me, it really hits me hard. It's like you're gonna feel bad for the next day because your body is not accustomed to it. One, it's all the glyphosate, but it's also just grains in general. Well, that's a whole different topic. Like, I don't know if you guys have been to Europe, but the whole idea of eating in Italy, you could eat pasta and all this kind of stuff like they do, and you don't feel bloated, you don't gain weight, and you come back to America and you gain a ton of weight from eating the same stuff.
So what do they do for flour?
Well, they don't use pesticides for one. Well, so there's a lot to wheat. I mean, wheat itself, modern wheat, conventional wheat is highly GMO, and it's been we've made it so it's the same with the corn, so it grows upright and it grows en masse, and we've changed its genetics. So you think about it, it's like not at this point, it's not even something natural. Like it's not. It's just as industrial and processed as a processed food in the aisle of the grocery store. But when you start to eat the food, like the flour and the products from Europe, a lot of times it's like heritage wheats. So there's different, just like a dog, there's breeds of dogs. There's different breeds, if you will, for different. So like we use exclusively at our house, we use einkorn flour, and now. Listeners might roll their eyes if you go to Whole Foods. You look at the flour, the organic, whatever, the highest end organic flour. It's probably like $7, and then you see the einkorn flour, and it's this little tiny bag, and it's $10. I roll my eyes too. But
is einkorn? Does that mean it's flour made out of corn?
It's einkorn.
Oh,
it's the einkorn berry. Yeah, it's like wheat. It's like a sibling of wheat, but it's more natural. It's more bioavailable. It's way better for your gut. It's more easy to digest. It's not GMO. So and there are a few others like that. And Europe is a lot higher, like semolina flour. You'll see, or durum wheat.
And that's what a lot of Italian pasta is made out of.
That's a lot of the pasta is made of that. And it's easier on your gut. It's not
Really?
Yeah, the glyphosate's really bad for you. It's super carcinogenic, right? And I think it disrupts hormones.
very,
and
Has
it,
Is it possible?
Well,
to
there's
get
like
stuff
there's
without it?
atrazine in it, for example, and that's like it spikes your hormones, and it's really bad.
and it's in a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
So
in a
I
ton of
like
stuff.
I make pizza, but I import my flour from Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's? I don't even know.
Yeah,
See, these are things again. I don't even know what this is,
Yeah.
and I'm not like a I just want to know. I'm just a I just want to know what the heck is going on. But
well, like for example, like Costa Rica, glyphosate is banned. So you know for a fact. I mean, I'm not saying they don't have other synthetic chemicals, but they have a lot of. I'm not a big fan of government or government policy, but I think one area that it is valuable is regulating food-based businesses, so you can't just
kill people.
scale like this and kill people. Yeah, it is insidious. It should be tried the same way
They
that
sell it for 20 years and get a slap on the wrist fine.
yeah. Oh,
What's the company? Monsanto, I think, is the Roundup manufacturer. Yeah.
well, and then Monsanto, they also are the ones who make the GMO corn. So like the Roundup Ready corn. That's so they have a stranglehold on it. It's the same with the pharmaceuticals. Never held liable for anything, even though you're killing people. And like it's because it doesn't seem direct, like the obesity epidemic, but obesity leads to all these other chronic conditions that that's what's bringing our life expectancy down. And it's like thinking about, kind of getting niche here, but like COVID or flu or things like that, like a healthy person who eats real food isn't going to die from those things. But an obese person who's been eating food sprayed with glyphosate their whole life, those are the people that are susceptible to those things. So it's like although you can't, and that's the thing, that's why they don't have liabilities, because you can't tie Monsanto back to that death from that person who died from COVID. But they didn't die from COVID. They died from their whole life of being chronically ill, and then that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Wow. So it's like, and that's where we get to the conversation of how do we fix it, and that's what Kennedy and Maha and all that kind of stuff is they're trying to do. But it's like it takes more than one administration, that's for sure.
No, that's a cultural shift, and you've got, like we talked about right up front. I mean, you have to incentivize people to produce the good things, and you have to give them enough margin that it's worth the risk. But
Yep.
Interesting. Questions. Every time I talk, there's more questions than answers.
Could go all day.
Yeah, interesting. What do you do for fun?
I like to be outside. I like fishing.
Oh,
yeah.
What kind of fishing?
Anything. I was big into fly
fishing?
fishing when I was younger. I
Really?
tied flies and all that stuff.
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah. Oh, it's
It
fun.
looks like fun.
It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
I never catch anything. I'm not that good at it, but
That's
getting
what
to
they say about fly fishing, though. You still enjoy it.
No, yeah, you definitely do.
I grew up saltwater fishing on Long Island, so we've got big
See, that's
fish.
what I haven't been able to do.
And
I'd love
that's
to
fun
go
because the fish
deep
are
sea
big
fishing,
and it's like
yeah.
a big fight and
Yeah.
stuff. But it's not like as skillful because you're either using live bait and you're just relying on the fact that those fish are predators, or it's shiny things that like they get their eye.
Well, now they use drones and they just go up high and they can see where the fish is and they just drop the bait.
Really?
Oh yeah,
so
that's what the
dumb.
commercial. I mean, not the commercial fishermen. That's what like all the sport fishermen. That's what they do.
That's not a sport. That's idiotic. But
Yeah. Well, that's how you fish from the shore. You can't see out there.
but I fish from the shore. You just
Yeah.
go out and
No, I
sometimes
know.
you don't catch things. But then fly fishing seems nice because you have to like match the hatch. You have to have strategy, technique, and all that.
Yeah, and then when you get down to actually tying it yourself, it's a whole.
Yeah.
It's like you get to
that's
see the whole
very
life
cool.
cycle of it.
That's
But
very cool.
yeah, fishing. I think we talked about. I play the baritone ukulele. That's
Didn't
fun.
know that there was such a thing until we talked about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. People don't know, but it's normal ukulele is kind of annoying on your ears at times. Pretty high. I mean, I can play that too, but the baritone is like the bottom or the top 4 strings of a guitar. So it sounds like a guitar, it's just not quite as doesn't have as much
DGG.
heart and soul, but it's still fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, and like I said, I have a 5-month-old, so
Yeah,
that's
that'll
what
keep you busy.
takes up most of my time.
That's awesome.
Nowadays, but
Good deal.
yeah.
And
Awesome. Well, we are super lucky to have you on the team.
Yes.
I think you've had significant
are.
contributions in what, 2 months? It's been
1 month,
1 month.
month and a week.
Feels a lot longer, and there really wasn't like an adjustment period I felt
No.
like day one, you're just part of the team, and we'd known each other for ages.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like you hire somebody else. I think Chris and I were talking about this last week. It's like, not trying to toot my own horn, but if you hired somebody else, it's like you're expecting a onboarding and a packet and all this transition period of like, getting my email set up and all that bullshit. But
No, I think I think you quadrupled our Instagram followers in week 1.
yeah. Well, I mean, the work culture these days is just so diluted. It's like accomplishments are nothing. And that was like my favorite thing about our first couple weeks. Yeah, it's crazy that it's only been a month because we've gotten a lot done. But like coming from the agency world where it takes minimum a month and a half, usually 3 months to redo a website, even just like a homepage, which is one of the first projects that I did here. It would be minimum a month. You got a creative team comes up with a concept, or the account manager, whoever's in charge, they sort of strategize, outline it. Copywriter writes the copy, send it to the creative team. They make the design, send it to the client. They have feedback, come back to the creative team, send it back, more feedback, back, forth. And like I said, a month and a half, 2 months goes by, and then you launch, and it's woo. We did it in a week.
Yeah.
A week. No, yeah, that the homepage I did before I even started. I designed that the week before my first week. That's why it feels longer, probably.
Yeah.
But just like the turnaround of how efficient we can be,
Yeah.
and I think we have a unique combination of skills across the three of us, which
Definitely.
is going to allow us to scale and do a lot with a lean team because we are all dynamic. We all have our strengths, but then we can all dip our toes everywhere and collaborate and strategize. And yeah, it's just been refreshing. And bringing back to the serendipity point that you made, I think it's just like there couldn't have been a better fit for me because I'm somebody who, while I enjoy marketing, it's like that's just what I stumbled into. That's sort of how I got started professionally. But it's like my passion is seeing the whole picture and merging marketing with sales, with operations and logistics and all that kind of stuff, and making the whole wheel spin. And then, I mean, combining it with something I'm deeply passionate about local food and nutrition and healthy eating is like, and a great team.
Worked
of course,
out.
great
We do have a
co-founders,
great
great
team.
leaders.
Good, a lot of awesome things ahead.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
I'm excited.
You're gonna want to keep watching the Unprocessed podcast. There's gonna be
Yes.
some big changes next year.
Keep your eyes out.
Best is yet
It's
to
gonna
come.
be
Oh,
some
yeah.
cool stuff. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Another good one in the books.